Hi, I'm Mark Sasson with mobilecomputerservices.info, and I'm here today for About.com to talk to you briefly about peer-to-peer networks. Peer-to-peer is an approach to computer networking where all computers are equivalent for responsibility and processing data. Whereas in client-server networking, certain computers have certain responsibility for serving and certain have the other responsibility for receiving. In a peer-to-peer network, pretty much all the computers are the same. Each computer is actually acting as a client and server. Some of the popular peer-to-peer sites that might ring a bell to you guys are the old Napster or downloading sites where people are sharing software or music. It's basically a peer-to-peer system, meaning when you're trying to download something, you're acting as a client, but when people connect to your computer, you're now acting as a server. So the peer-to-peer is basically a bunch of computers working together, as opposed to the client server is a bunch of client computers and one so-called mainframe computer serving all those client computers. Peer-to-peer networking is also a lot more common in small networks such as homes, small offices. Usually you won't see a client server network unless you start going into an environment with 5, 10, or maybe 20 or more computers. Peer-to-peer networks are also often situated physically near each other, typically in the homes or the small businesses we just talked about. Some of the benefits of a peer-to-peer network are basically you can configure sharing of files, printers, and other resources a lot easier than as using a client-server setup. In a client-server setup, you usually require an administrator with a domain, and there's certain rules and restrictions that have to be obliged and followed by in order to get access to these resources. Whereas in a peer-to-peer network, anyone can basically share files from their machine. The other person can share files, you can upload. It's a lot easier to share information on a peer-to-peer network. But the client server is going to have more control and more security. So each one has its own benefits. On the internet, peer-to-peer networks handle a high volume of file sharing traffic by distributing the load across many computers, because they do not rely exclusively on one central or some more central servers. Also, in the case of failures or bottlenecks, the peer-to-peer is a stronger system because there's a lot of computers involved to keep the system up and running. Now, thanks for watching, and for more information, please visit us online at About.com.